And welcome back to Swiss Day 2, live from the Riot Games Arena in Berlin, Germany. Yesterday, our 16 teams entered the stage and we got a glimpse of the weeks ahead of us. And today, we go again. 8 best of 1. I hope you're all rested, comfortably seated as well. I hope you guys are doing well.
Well, we're not seated.
We're not rested or seated.
I'm a little concerned, though. I'm behind enemy lines and surrounded, so I'm going to need to recruit you back to your roots. Your North American roots.
I don't think you could do that in a single line on the AD segment.
No,
I think it's going to take a little bit more time. What actually, wait, yeah, updating. What do we say? What are the... Azael is bad luck.
Not anymore.
EU West is toxic.
Yes. Like Team Liquid, they actually won yesterday.
Yeah.
You just didn't watch it correctly.
100 Thieves.
I think there's more.
You brought the wrong topic.
You just complain about who you send to Worlds, right?
Pretty much, actually, yeah.
It's actually very similar.
I don't know, I'm gonna let them rumble here, but I feel like we're pretty happy as Western fans after what happened yesterday. Not a single upset, so it played against expectation, no delulu.
I mean, I actually think, like, as an LNG fan, I was breathed a sigh of relief having Liquid kind of mess that up a little bit in the mid to late game, because their early game was so solid. You know, they got the Grubs, they got the Dragons, it looked like they had the gold lead, they're kind of running away with the tempo, and then they threw it. You know, I actually thought Liquid had a good, solid chance in that game, and sadly they didn't.
I feel like you just took this side to piss me off. That's what happened here.
You've been fighting me every day. You've thrown a pen in my face, you've stolen my glasses.
Okay, guys,
attacked me on the couch.
That did happen.
You know what? Let's settle this during the break. I feel like we had a good day as European fans. It ended well, of course. FlyQuest, great debut as well. As a reminder, win 3, you're in. Lose 3, you're out. That's an easy rule to follow. But I feel like you're in a game mode, kinda.
Yeah, we're losing. We kind of need to ease into the day.
Let's play a game here. We're gonna bring back an NA favorite game here and play this or that from the first day of Swiss.
You guys are very thoughtful.
Classic.
You guys are very thoughtful.
I like this. Is my favorite
First
game.
question, guys.
All right.
Who is more OP? Is it Yone or is it Aurora?
Oh my God!
The latest champion we have.
You want to go? I go first. Okay. All I'm gonna say is, I don't know what the bunny thigh lady does still. It's unclear to me. But I know exactly what this champion does, and it's completely and utterly broken. This is the grossest champion pro play I've seen in forever. He has the Yasuo synergy without the Yasuo risk. He has so much CC. Look at Fnatic yesterday. They trolled all game and still managed to find multiple winning team fights just because this champion's kit is so overloaded.
Yeah, but this is simple to follow, Dracos. Bunny comes out of invisibility, Bunny drops a nuke on you, and then you're trapped. That is what's happening over here. I do agree, I think from a side lane perspective and the entire kit, Yone is super, well, maybe not underrated because we all get what he does.
All I'm saying is Lola Bunny from Space Jam doesn't beat Sasuke from Naruto. That's just like how I feel about this right now.
I think I'm going with Lola Bunny from Space Jam, sadly. Sadly.
That doesn't surprise me.
If you look at the PGM, and also my taste, but if you look at the PGM, like, the damage is just absurd, and some of the team fights where like the Rakan can't reach the backline because of the fact that you get the 70% slow, and then you have the actual, like, you're just trapped unless if you use a dash or flash. It's just a disgusting champion.
I feel like it's a new champion as well, and we'll see how it evolves once teams get used to it. Second question we have here: what's the better strategy?
Lane swaps or standard lanes?
So it depends who you are.
Depends who you are. It depends where you come from.
There's a better strategy. I think we saw some swaps that definitely did not need to happen as well with a Kalista.
I love myself.
That was a sweet, sweet one, man.
Be careful of the LED.
It's okay.
Brad's going to ruin an entire wall to make a Okay, all I'll say is I really wish it was that. I really wish it was standard lanes. But I really don't think that it is. No, there's so many lane swaps, and it lets you get away with so much dumb stuff. Like, you can pick such bad bot lane 2v2 matchups and just get bailed out by the fact that you can swap, or pick a weak or top laner that would normally get stomped at the first 3 levels and just swap. It's such an easy get out of jail free card, and while, yeah, you're not going to make any money off tower plates, you still get all the experience you need.
I love how generic the question is, because better as a viewing experience, standard probably, they're right there. But better strategy, you just use.
Is it here to stay?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Context dependent, but I think more often than not we'll see some wins.
We'll see about that today. Last question, a bit of context here, because there's a belief that teams wearing white jerseys on even numbered years win more. So we had Samsung White 2014 white jersey. 2015 SKT was, the opposite. Samsung White was black and SKT 2015 was white. So I'm asking you, what is the biggest curse? What is the biggest superstition that this guy has been cursing his entire region for generations?
He broke it, okay? He broke it yesterday.
Or that actually teams are onto something.
Okay, so there's this black or white jersey alternating winners of Worlds theory, and there's the Azael as a curse for NA theory. All I'm gonna say is, these pictures, those are two teams in the greatest moments of their life lifting a Worlds trophy, and this Azael picture still hits harder. I have no idea where we found this, but this man's about to drop the most fire album of 2024.
Okay, I promise you it's okay. You literally just broke this curse just yesterday.
He broke it yesterday.
But I believe that he still hasn't cast a series that he's won.
Put your chin up.
And that's the problem. He's cast a best of one that North America
I think the
has won.
Azael curse is real. I'm gonna say it. Sorry Azael, I think the curse is real. I don't know what it is. I think that there's some force out there that said the second you were the best in the world at World of Warcraft, there was going to be a cost to balance things. And I think that it's his region is, he curses his
Let's give
region
him the benefit of the doubt after yesterday and see
I can
how
already
it
see the
goes,
tear coming out of
in
his
the
eye
future.
at this
Last
point.
question, guys.
I'm ready.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Beard or no beard for this gentleman right here.
Now, I feel like, first and foremost, this should be my decision.
Nothing like
Evidently, this is an entertainment broadcast.
By the rules of the internet, you're wrong.
Yes, the guys, have at it.
Well, all I'll say is, you look like a very happy chemistry teacher with a beard.
That's a literal, it's like a swap between Ned Flanders and Heimerdinger.
Oh my God.
That side.
All very respectable characters, of course.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you're trying to get into a bar, absolutely beard gibbers. Because the youth really shines through on the
amount of times
gibbers.
I have been ID'd is more than I would like to say on official broadcast.
So I could go either way, Raz. I don't know how you're feeling. Maybe we should let him decide for himself.
Yeah, maybe. This one gives me Dexter vibe.
I guess you have
I don't want to
already
be alone.
Thank you.
Last question.
Okay.
Last
Refocusing
question.
on League
Did you
here.
pick one?
I'm going with Ned Flanders.
Oh, wait,
I'm
is this
going
who
with
has the
Heimerdinger.
better draw?
Yeah, ADC or LCS.
I'm gonna say LEC.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah,
like,
look,
G2 took a bullet, but we just got play-ins rematch.
Yeah.
Do we even need to play this? They've already beaten them.
Yeah.
No, we do. You know our region. Yes, we
Sadly, we
absolutely
do.
do. The power of the LEC to throw is next to only the LCS, I believe.
I'm incredibly scared of this rematch as well for that exact reason.
That one's tough. I will say, based off the context of what the pool was available, FlyQuest had a good matchup.
Yeah.
But based off the 1-in-1 teams that was there, that one's as good as
I
they
would
can
like
get.
to remind you the reaction of the D plus Kia players when they saw that they had drawn FlyQuest. We're going to show you this later, of course. Here, but that was amazing. Honestly, it was amazing. I hope we have an upset here. Any upsets that we can see today, actually, when we look at the schedule and we have on what we have on our hands. Because again, we said 8 best of ones. No real surprises yesterday, but looking at the games we have today, what are the expectations for the West and overall?
Pain Gaming takes down T1, the defending champions. I don't actually believe that.
Yeah,
but
I was going to say, you came pretty hard on that.
Yeah,
I'd be impressed if they have a good early game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think TL has the potential to upset Weibo. I still would consider that an upset, and I think TL has more to show us. Also, yes, you know what? You can call me biased if you want. G2, I think, can beat HLE.
That's my question, because I know you guys are a little jaded with G2. Jaded or Cope, I don't know. You guys are a little jaded when it comes to it, but they had a pretty interesting composition. They kind of gave me MSI vibes, you know?
No, the one I'm looking at is FlyQuest and DK, because I think FlyQuest had one of the most prepped drafts coming into yesterday. They were the only team that picked the red side, and honestly, their opponent never had a chance in that game, whereas DK, kind of messy, not gonna lie. Fnatic, they gave them a back and forth, so I think that's a matchup to look out for as well.
I feel like this is when we're gonna see the Scream bubbles mixing, though, from the matchups we have. And different metas, I know that teams had a different approach yesterday, but looking at the games today, I feel like across the board, there's gonna be some really different approaches from the matches we
It's
have.
just funny, depending on who you talk to. Like, for instance, talking to a few people, you're like, oh, they don't believe Rumble is good. And then you just see some of the teams that have been drafting, especially since from play-ins, are like, oh no, they're still like early picking Rumble as a pick.
There's a lot of things that the patch was supposed to like remove forever, like 80 mid laners other than Yone, lane swaps. It didn't work. People are still playing all this. Maokai, it still looks really good, which is annoying because it's been the entire year of Maokai. But yeah, these champions are just refusing to leave.
Yeah.
Still the first day, players getting used to things. We'll see how things evolve for the rest of the games, but let's dive into the first matchup we have today. And we have a video from Rell, who's talking about the first experience he has on stage on the first day of Swiss.
Hello， 大家好，我是BLG AD Orc。今天第一场打下来的感受可能就是刚刚及格吧，是先熟悉一下比赛的节奏吧，然后感受一下比赛的那种氛围。第一波越塔，我觉得可能是因为我们整个队伍也就很久没有打比赛了，然后在比赛上面展现出来的那种画面还是有一点不一样的，然后都会有一点那种小失误吧，然后导致了我们越塔才会失败吧。然后在后续越失误了之后，我们也就是正常发育，然后慢慢运营就可以了。
Alvaro also putting him out as well. Knight's got no more charges left, but if they find a kill, he'll get one back. Knight now killing Alvaro, finding that angle. One more reset to go in. Elyoya amidst the entire team. Zeke Convergence doing a little bit of work. Elf trying to finish the kills, but Supa's still alive for now. Elyoya tanky, but not tanky enough. And no! It's coming in! Lightning! Static finishing the kill. Double now for Elf. That is soul crushing for the side of MDK.
首先，因为我们那个队阵容是第一年组成嘛，然后今年的话，因为我们相较于吸收了去年的经验吧，然后今年我们是一个就是以一个挑战者的姿态去冲锋就是冠军嘛，因为我觉得我们也有这个实力，还有这个机会吧。首先，我们对于不管对于瑞士人吧，我们是对于整个世界赛的所有比赛，我们都是充满着信心吧，然后也一定会在比赛上面去打得更好吧。
And it's nice to hear from Elk. Overall, Worlds is no stranger when it comes to LPL team kills. We've seen this like time and time again with like FPX versus IG in 2019. Like these things have happened. And the history with BLG and LNG is interesting to me because I remember LNG being the team that picked up Snake Esports and tried to be a little bit more of a competitive roster. So the history is kind of started well, a little bit better for LNG. But as time went on, BLG became a powerhouse. This year's storytelling, though, has been fun because they faced once before during the regular season, and it went towards LNG.
No, it did. I think if you look at their record, you're obviously looking at LNG and you're thinking, wow, this is looking really good. And you're right. In the summer season, LNG beat BLG in the best of 3 series. The thing is, this happens quite frequently where during the regular season, teams will have different reads coming into just what is best for that series in itself. The problem with this scoreline is that BLG, they win the games that matters, all right? LNG might get the regular season games. They don't get the playoff games. They don't get the ones where you really need to make your mark and make sure that you advance in the playoff bracket. And that's the problem here for LNG, that they're going up against the BLG that on paper is a lot better than them.
And when BLG loses games like those, they take it harshly. You know what happened in the next series after LNG beat them and they went up against JDG? That's when Wei came in. After that loss where they felt pretty haphazard, weren't taking fights properly, it went to 3 games, they lost that series. First game started with Shun, and then they made the adjustment because they were a much more cohesive team, and they started running that road straight towards their championship. So it's interesting to see from that perspective how impactful that series was to them.
What is the final product here when you consider both teams and the fact that coming here into Worlds, BLG, clear favorites to win the tournament. LNG though, not to be underestimated, and as you guys said, it's a pretty even matchup when you think of LPL results over the years. So what is the expectation today? Which team learned the most? Which team grew the most? Because it feels like we have the final version of BLG. I'm just wondering about LNG.
Yeah, GB, it feels like LNG learned the most just because they didn't have Knight for a bit in terms of practice and scrims. And so like they are just learning at a more rapid pace at Worlds, right?
You mean Scout?
Oh, yeah, my bad.
Sorry,
with Scout.
No, but I think like if you take a look at BLG, they're already a diamond, right? They've been through the pressure. They've made their swaps they needed to. They've been shaped into this monstrosity of a team that they currently are. And LNG, they're kind of still in that cold stage. I'm not going to lie. Like, we don't really know what the final product is going to look like. I don't think they're fully utilizing all their members to the extent that they would want to. I think their evolution from spring into summer was fantastic in terms of finding that identity they desperately needed. But in terms of final product right now, I mean, they still got a long way to go to beat BLG, I think.
Yeah, and I think the focus, I just want to bring it up quickly, is between the mid laners. Both of these guys, incredible playmakers, have had great history. I remember the championships that Scout won in 2016 and 2017 alongside the old guys like Clear Love and Mouse and all that.
The glory days.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Knight is just stamping in his own legacy. 6 finals appearances in a row based off TES, BLG, JDG. He's won 5 LPL championships alongside, I mean, at least like tied for Xiaohu and Clear Love. So it's crazy to see both these players come against each other today.
And that's why it's going to be interesting because the meta is completely different. We know that there's different expectations when it comes to these two players, but it's an LPL clash between titans here in this first day and first game of the second day of Swiss stage. So let's get to it.
That is what they say. That's what they say.
What's that?
North America, put your hands together for your final World's representative.
I remember I cried so many times because of the excitement I could have felt. Back then I was still a little kid, just wanting to play amongst the best, but I wasn't good enough. But now I am. I have the chance to change history.
우승하고 싶다라는 상상만 항상 하고요. 매일 밤 자기 전에 그냥 우승하면 어떤 일이 일어날까, 어떤 감정일까, 제가 그냥 우승하는 그런 모습들을 계속 상상하면서 자는 것 같아요.
The first time I watched Peanut professionally was probably around 2016 when he was in Rocks Tigers. I remember him playing versus T1 in the semifinals of Worlds. That was a very hype match and I thought he was playing very insane. I'm very excited because I finally want to beat him.
은퇴하기 전에 꼭 해보고 싶다라는 게 내가 월주 우승을 하면 어떨까? 해봐야 알 것 같아.
첫 월주 때 가장 크게 배운 거는 이제 팀마다 아니면 리그마다 되게 특색이 있는 걸 느꼈던 것 같습니다. 그리고 T1 같은 경우에는 그런 리그의 장단점들을 모든 리그의 장단점들을 합친 팀이라고 생각합니다.
케라 선수도 되게 피지컬적으로도 되게 좋은 선수고 각도 잘 보는 선수라서 일단 라인전 하는 건 되게 재밌을 것 같아요.
然后今天一下踢完之后，觉得对我们整体的自信也有提升。
哦 ，nice， 兄弟们！
我觉得我们下一场还是会赢下来的。
일단 지금 같은 경우는 모든 팀들이 메타를 완벽하게 이해하지는 못했을 거라고 생각하고 있고요. 그래도 저희만의 좀 강점이 있다면 챔피언 톱과 한타를 좀 잘하는 점이라고 생각합니다.
对战我们的时候好好加油吧！我觉得自己在瑞士人面对所有中单都能赢的。
首先，我们对于不管对于瑞士人吧，我们是对于整个世界赛的所有比赛，我们都是充满着信心吧。想对我们 LPL 所有兄弟队伍说，让我们一起巴黎见啊，让我们一起击败所有对手。
我就觉得我们在连杠一之后是可以打上去的。If you underestimate us, we're gonna shit on you guys.
After this loss, we're all really angry and we'll make sure that for the next match we're going to be playing full aggressive and we'll take over the game.
就是我后面很有信心可以追上这个版本吧。
Fly can be a dangerous team to draw because if you don't disrupt us early game, we will beat you on the map and we will beat you in team fights.
만나서 재밌는 경기 하고 좋은 모습 많이 보여드릴 수 있도록 잘 준비해 오겠습니다.
Em nghĩ là nếu mà có là tuyển thủ nào mà coi thường khu vực BLG đó thì em sẽ trả thù bằng cách là chiến thắng trận đấu.
I'm a strong believer in Fnatic. This is the LEC studio. This is our home, so we have to defend it.
And we're back for more Worlds after such an exciting day number one after the Swiss only opened things up. And we open with this banger for day two. BLG versus LNG, tops of the LPL. Myself and Dagda are going to take you through it, and as old LPL casters, it's like a blast from the past, ain't it?
Yeah, going back to our roots, which is it's nice to be back here and get to look back at some of the old teams as well. But also, like, this is a really interesting series because I think a lot of people will look at it and go, oh, well, you know, BLG are heavy favorites, and chances are they are. But when you look back at summer, it was LNG who beat them in the regular split in that best of three. So in a single game, this could really break either way.
And even though LNG bombed out in the playoffs, I mean, again, Like, we got to see a much better version going into that regional final, getting that 3rd seed. So you're right, it could go either way. And when you have such experienced legacies on each side of the team, one in Knight that's fastly growing, as I know Munchables on Twitter was really like, don't forget about Knight. This guy is kicking ass and taking names and has been for the past 4 or 5 years, which is very, very true. I mean, Scout's been around for an age as well. Previously, the EDG franchise player alongside Mako.
Yeah, and I think for a Scout, he's really been stepping up in picks like the Yone and the Lucian, so I expect heavy priority on getting those out of his hands coming into this draft. Whereas when you look across at Knight, it feels like he has so many different champions that can play. We got to see him bring out the Ari yesterday, but this man, the depth of champions, especially on a meta like this, is just going to be insane.
Both of them have such flexible champion pools. That's why mid gets exciting as we go into our first pick ban of the day here at World. So, Skarner's already taken off. Aurora on the other side of the board. We mentioned mid being big. Things like Yone as well, especially for Scout, has been his bread and butter, as Zika's Renekton going to be taken off the board.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see exactly how they want to try and approach things like the Ashe in the bottom lane. I think that's worth banning. Nar taking his way as well. Bin, over the course of the end of the split, really just turned into a Renekton Kennen kind of merchant. So, this guy still has a huge amount in his champion pool, but definitely limiting those picks is going to work out, because say for instance he's only got 4 games of the Cassante, so I think it's trying to get comfort picks away from Bin always works out well.
And it's so nice seeing these two top laners go up against each other. Zika, who's really improved on the carry style tops and was called like a flex player but never reaching the highs of 369 on one role or Bin on the other. Now when we see them head to head, we can change that around, as Orianna for the first time, or at least one of the first times I should say, is let through.
I think it's surprising to see the high priority on it, because I was thinking Syndra for Knight could be up there, Ashe could be incredibly important, but not going to be the case. Also the Ziggs left open for GALA. GALA is an incredible Ziggs player, but Zika's Rumble yesterday was crucial in a lot of those teamfight successes, so they're going to try and get that back for himself again.
A lot of people said yesterday LNG had a strange read. It looked like a blast from the past too, right? With things like the Tristana for Scout, like the Rumble that we talked about, but they piloted it so damn well that you can see the teamfight presence coming through. Weiwei, a facilitating jungler. You'd look at the Sejuani, you'd look at the Maokai, both being open as we hover and have a second think.
Yeah, I think this is more of a, you're probably going to take the Nocturne with the Orianna, and a shout out to that, but I think Weiwei definitely has a lot in his champion pool. Yes, he's been Sejuani, but he's actually going to lock it in. I was going to say he's got plenty carry picks, and Nocturne fits into that wheelhouse, so definitely feels like a take away from the potential setup from Wei, but Vi's here. And honestly, I prefer that side of the equation.
And Dagda alongside Knight, I know we've already got a mid laner there as well, but seeing this combo, this reminds me of Shun. This reminds me of like old BLG as well, where you have a mage, playmaking mage mid, and have something from Wei that can set up, I mean, Shun in the past.
And I think as well, this is something that fits very well for Knight. Knight, over the course of the start of summer, was fairly quiet, and I think partly that was, hey, I'm getting used to this AD carry meta, but also the AD carry just not being as strong in early skirmishes. Knight traditionally has been a player that wants to get heavily involved in the early stages, play for those 3v3s and 2v2s, so I think having this Vi-Orianna combo opens up BLG to play aggressive for those Void Grub skirmishes.
And while we were considering that, I mean, like, Bin had this little smile in the corner of his mouth, thinking like, yeah, I could probably play Fiora against this, why not? But Cassante in the end, I mean, even though Bin didn't play it throughout the playoffs, like, he has incorporated a lot more tanks into the pool. People who saw him last World, it was a very different meta for him, where it was just like, yeah, we play carry, and Bin doesn't really play tanks. That has obviously changed, obviously, since MSI as well.
I mean, it is something that he hasn't played a huge amount of this split, though. He has definitely gone towards, like we were saying, the Renektons, the Kennens, and I honestly thought he'd have something a little bit more of a counter pick for the Rumble, but happy to just go back towards tank, and it looks like for BLG, they kind of took a look at LNG's games yesterday and said, hey, look, your macro wasn't great, your ability to play sides didn't really function amazingly, let's just try and play for this late game scaling team fight and see how we get on.
And we'll get through lanes. I mean, BLG is so good at getting through even lanes or even ahead in matchups they don't normally do. More on that as we get into game, as Scout got his Yone. That's a big pick for the mid lane legend as they start banning away some of those ADs left to dry.
And I'm curious if, well, I think we definitely need some sort of setup here for Hong in that bottom side for LNG. I think your best bet is trying to look towards something like a Rakan. I think he had a great performance on it domestically, and even when you look at the last series that these two faced off, his Rakan in Game 3 was crucial to the success of them actually being able to turn around some of these dives, set up in these team fights, and find that Game 3 win. So maybe get a little bit of a throwback here for Hong.
When Hong's performing well, this team looks like a different beast as well. I feel like he's had a lot of criticism coming into the tournament, and there is a reason why, if you go back and watch through some of the games in summer, is that Ziggs you talked about for GALA that was left open. They didn't prioritize it, so now they lose it.
Yeah, I would be surprised surprised if they went for the Ziggs here, though. I feel like you kind of want some sort of setup, and sure, you can go for like Scout, Yone ult into that setup, but Weiwei doesn't really provide a ton of easy CC to set up, so we'll have to see what the game plan is. Kai'Sa respect ban towards Elk as well. I like GALA is a big proponent for that as well. I thought we might actually see him go towards the Kai'Sa here, but I am curious now if it is just going to be something like a Jinx setup here for BLG. And then I want to know what GALA has as an answer to that.
I wonder if that means On will change what he does. No ban from BLG. Disrespect or just lack of time to actually lock something in. That is our first no ban of Worlds, as far as I know. So, BLG, what's the deal?
It's probably just going to be an Ashe Jhin trade, maybe, but I think I'm a little nervous about BLG's damage output if you go towards Elk on Jhin here, so I like that. At least LNG are taking the Ashe away, as that's kind of the higher DPS. But we saw yesterday that static shift Jhins worked out perfectly for people, where I have never seen so many people dying to static shift procs. So maybe Elk is just feeling comfortable to go for it again.
I mean, again, like, these Jhins are hitting different in the main stage already, even after a single day. As you said, it's the only thing left up and available. Our two utility AD carries go up head-to-head against each other again. Now we just have to find out where On lands, because he's going to get counterpicked by Hung. We know that things like the Rell are open, Dagda, the Nautilus, the Leona, there's a plethora of supports still left.
You could just immediately go towards Braum if you're feeling comfortable here. It's not something that traditionally we've seen in the LPL, but it means that you can have the answer to what you assume is going to be an engage pick coming through, like the Alistar or the Rell or even a Leona here for Hung.
So just a standard answer instead of maybe taking it away. And I have had confirmation it was a missed ban. It just missed. That is no bug. So, okay. The LPL versus LPL matchup starts off in a very, very nice way. On the other side, what's the response? There's a lot of dashes in, Dagda.
Yeah, I think I'd personally like something like the Rakan to try and disrupt the engage that's coming through from the Vi. You can pop the charm, but I can understand the Poppy in the same boat, but it just doesn't give you that go-in tool. So it feels like it's going to be very heavily on like GALA trying to set up with these arrows for picks and then having that side lane pressure come through from Scout. So I think you've got a pretty clear game plan for LNG, and I think that's where a game plan that revolves around Scout oftentimes is successful for LNG, so having him on the Yone, a comfort pick for him, is going to work out great. But for BLG, we already kind of said, look, it's late game team fighting, trying to set up for these big wombos with the Vi and the Orianna, and just making sure that you can try and keep GALA safe here on LNG, but that's going to be a tough one.
It really is, but GALA, team fighting AD carry, at least one of the best in the LPL, and he started making a name for himself over the past couple of years. Dagda, I remember, I think we were casting at the time, it was when he came in and replaced RNG. I think when they were looking for a new AD carry, Betty came in from the PCS, and they were like, we need someone new, found the star in GALA, and look at him now.
I mean, it was GALA and Wei coming in from E-Star, right back in the day.
Oh my God, yeah.
The first year, so kind of getting the reunion from the first time in LPL.
What a throwback,
Yeah, it's sick. It's kind of been insane to see him grow into the player that he has been, because he's the Penta Prince for so long. But we were looking yesterday, he is 9 pentakills. He is 1 behind the major region title holders in Reckless and Double Lift. So it'll be nice to kind of see him get up there. It's Celebrity and Holy Phoenix at 11 and 12 respectively, just above them. So definitely been living up to that main state since he entered into the LPL.
He deserves such praise, and again, it's fun to see him on AD carry Zaka team fight on this Ashe. Will he be able to space it out? Because a bit of backline access to deal with as we get our domestic rivalry. One that Dagda said before, we didn't see as of late. It was only in that ascension stage. As you mentioned, LNG the only ones to take down BLG in a best of 3, but this is best of 1 territory, and this is a matchup we didn't get in playoffs whatsoever. So first seed versus third here to move on to 2-0. Means 1 LPL team will be on that match point. We'll move to BO3s here at the Swiss stage at Worlds.
Yeah, I think the difficulty here for BLG is going to be the lack of, pushing bot and top, because it's going to open up Weiwei to be a real threat when it comes to his first move on skirmishes or even having the support from his team. And I think that's where LNG have started to come alive, is when they can try and get these early leads for a scout play towards the mid lane and then lean that in towards sideline pressure. But already that pressure coming through here as they start to move forward. GALA forced to flash away.
Yeah, he does just leave it out, doesn't he? Elk's got a 4 shot he's holding on to, but what are we going to get in the end? Ignite, flash from GALA. Elk did have to cleanse as well, but having that flash up and available means that for BLG, slight advantage with the importance of that summoner spell.
Yeah, and you can even see Wei starting up on this top side as well, so he's happy to just roam down towards this bottom side, and that could set up a nice early lead for BLG that can carry through, because you can see on the head-to-head, surprisingly, it is BLG who are behind.
Remember as well, BLG only in recency, it became this BLG-JDG rivalry. Before that, it was JDG Top Esports. Before that, it was EDG, RNG, the old Classico. And of course, we had the FPX IGs within the mixes as well. But BLG have only just built themselves up. They had some really rough years where we had the Uzi Super Team.
Meteor in 2020 as well. That one started off so well in winter. And then our spring even, it just
BLG Kuro, remember, went to Rift Rivals as well. Like, he was on the team for a little bit. Like, this team has gone through so many different iterations, but LNG have been around for a while. And remember, they were also Snake Esports before they became LNG, running Flandre every single day of the week, who now became world champion the year he left LNG.
And now they've swapped over to Zika, the bidding king, he's called in China, because he's the highest transfer fees of any player in the year he transferred over to LNG.
Not surprised.
Which was sick.
Oh, good block. Hung flashed in front to block the deadly flourish. Very smart move, but now he's got no summoners too.
Yeah, this is, again, only an opportunity for BLG to try and set up more pressure on towards his bottom side. And Nice is going to be kind of the focal point for me in holding this pressure for BLG. You can see him pushing in, good damage on towards Scout already. And if you can start to put pressure into this bot side jungle, which On is already setting up, this could be where BLG make the hurt onto Weiwei.
Weiwei's already gone deep into the Gromp. Hung is now covering a Hex Flash just to get in the face, but fakes it out, and Wei starts up the blue buff for now. Trying to lure in LNG, but it might just end up being an easy takeaway.
Yeah, I think it should be, and this is nice from BLG to just use this bot side pressure thanks to those early summoner spells being burnt. Wave and moving towards mid Scout. Half HP, so should be fine. I don't think you're going to go for any sort of gank. I think it's just to deny access to Nice here for Weiwei.
It's just such a good lane already though, right? As you said, push Scout away. Wei just walks in, and I realized, Dagda, when we have Wei versus Weiwei, is it even better throwback for you and I? Like RNG Wei, and then when we had Weibo Weiwei.
Yeah, and then JDG had Big Wei.
Big Wei is still around.
And we still have Xiao Wei, which just means Little Wei. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
I continue missing the LBL, like the amount of times we had. So which way? Which way are we going? Well, we're going top side for now. You've got more questions, I know, as Wei is down in the bottom side. So both ways on different sides of the map as BLG get the push in. And look at the zoning this Vi is doing.
Yeah, I was going to say, Wei, this is the beauty of watching Wei, is how good he is at understanding what are the options of his opponent, how he can shut them down, and then just enable the lanes to play as aggressively as they want. And I think that's why we saw that swap from Jhin towards Wei, because even when you look back at the RNG days, this was where Wei stood out as just being able to support his individual laners. One MSI playing that style, and now BLG are like, hey, maybe we can use that to win international tournaments as well.
It's helping the good laners, right? You have a flexible jungler. This is the argument for Wei over Jhin, where Jhin, a lot of the time we saw, you know, even at MSI, right? Playing towards the bot side, exposed by Gen G, hurt them a lot. Where did the direction go from there?
Yeah, but I think it's also a style that Knight's particularly used to, because when you look back at like Top Esports 2020, when Knight started winning his first championships, it was, hey, we're just going to try and support you on the map. We're going to make sure that you can just continually put pressure forward, because we've got 369, who's one of the best top laners, and now Scout actually in a lot of trouble.
He is in a lot of trouble. Knight doesn't have much mana, but he continues that clockwork wind up and just autos him down. Scout has to teleport back in, sure, but Knight's going to push this wave in. A couple of CS denied.
And look at where On is as well. On just supporting him here because he knows the Hung is missing off the map. And if anyone tries to go aggressive here, he's just going to be there to help them out. And Weiwei needs to try and continue to farm to get towards level 6, but he's not really having access to a lot of his camps right now, waiting for these bot side camps to respawn his Scout, taking more damage.
Oh my lord. He's trying to stick around. He just doesn't want to lose too much CS, but it's a Knight lane kingdom again, and this is what we know him for, Dagda. This is what he's built up his legacy in LPL. Because Knight, if you go back to just playoffs, and I know they're a winning team, but he averages 10 CS a minute. Like, it just kind of shows you the caliber of lane and how clean he is. And again, playing this matchup to fruition, he's bullying out in the range advantage.
And this was not the way that we saw their regular season games go. LNG were game one heavily focused on this bottom side, putting Elkanon behind, abusing the fact that Elkanon loved to play these hyper-aggressive lanes. And but with Weiwei on this Nocturne, he can't really have access or input to those lanes. Even having those early summoner spells burned really put a hindrance onto this LNG bot side.
Yeah.
And now it's just BLG getting to play their game, slowly building up these leads as the game goes on.
Wei's getting close towards level 6, and while you're concerned about the Nocturne, I'm curious about the change of pace that happens with the 6 from Weiwei on the other side. When we start hitting those ultimate marks, you can see Weiwei's just covering for the time being, but he moves down towards Dragon. Junglers meet head-to-head, and LNG just clearing vision around this Dragon. It wouldn't be an LPL game without just seeing teams focus around Dragon, because it was talked about on day one, but like the likes of like Gen G and Humble Life, everyone's moving up for grubs. LPL team's like, no, we need this Dragon, let's start it off.
Yeah, I thought we'd get more pressure towards the Void Grubs, especially when you're looking towards Scout. I think he'd love to try and get these early plays, but the lack of control over the mid lane really started to hinder them, and they just saw that they had the opportunity to get the push for GALA on this bottom side, so let's use that to go for Dragons. Does mean you're not going to get like 4 or 5 for a split pushing Yone, but or sorry, 4 or 5 Void Grubs for a split pushing Yone, but you're still fine, I think, as LNG to just try and focus on early Dragon takes, so BLG don't have an objective to force you into fights later.
And maybe as well with that Dragon take for LNG gives a bit of space to GALA and Hung, who've been shoved up against the turret for the duration of the game. It's also because as TP comes through in top, Elk looks like he took a reset, then walked back to lane, and is just coming back to catch the wave.
I think it's also GALA now having its flash available is way less vulnerable on this bottom side from on, like flashing in with a Q or looking for that follow-up crash down if Wei's in the area. But with Wei hitting 6, like I wouldn't be surprised if we get some sort of pressure now down towards this bottom side for Wei. Just the easy Q flash from on, try and burn some summoner spells, follow up with the ultimate from Wei. There's a very ease of access on towards a champion like Ashe in that bot side.
Well, that Ashe is going to throw out a hawk shot once again. And just spot out information, not gathered, a little bit short, but sees it clear, and you've got to assume at that point, like, okay, he's probably going to be at Gromp, or Wei is trying to position to maybe something in the top side for a potential dive as arrows thrown out, and Elk instant cleanse away, summon it down.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of information for BLG, though, as well, on the opposite side. Like, you can see on your mini-map, just the little...
Show us.
Ward that's always been placed here by On, right as he went to cover in mid lane as well. So it's been spotting out a lot of when Weiwei tries to enter in towards that river portion. I think this is something that BLG are exceptional at, and it's why you oftentimes see On playing hyper aggressively. It's because he's able to infer a ton of information just off these deep wards that BLG consistently get in their jungle.
And synced up with that information with Wei, it's been another pressing factor that BLG have been so good at, where LNG on the other side, I know over the course of this split have been criticized about how Hung and Weiwei sync up a little bit. You know, again, new jungler coming through when Tarzan was kind of the cornerstone of this LNG roster, as we only remember. But it's always about support and jungle. Top LPL teams can do it, and that's where LNG is a difference. That's where they've received their criticism to be real.
Well, Hung is also just a lunatic. Which doesn't
well said.
Like, back in his Rare Adam days, he was the one that would, like, flash in to ignite to get tempo advantage on your AD carry. This man is insane.
I feel like On was also a lunatic. The difference was he just refined his lunacy and then just got better at doing it more consistently. It became less off, more on. You know, and Hung, you're right. Like, that's why Pyke I always associate with him, because I think, like, Hung's pocket pick Pyke is so crazy. But you also go back into, like, the amount of times I've seen him absolutely run it with that pick.
I mean, it's the beauty of Hung, and also On, right? They are, they can be incredible, but they can just sometimes completely miss.
Isn't it great as well? I feel like, you know, Elk and GALA also share some similarities. Both great team fighting AD carries. I think Elk has become more known as a laner as well, especially since this BLG roster heading into MSI and heading into previous splits, I should say, was so good at these 2v2 lanes, right? This game, it's a bit of a drawback for me, because even though they're winning the 2v2 lane with a good CS advantage, thanks to the early summoners you went on about, Elk and On, it's been a relatively stable game of less bullying, more taking control.
Yeah, I think, though, GALA and Hung should be able to now bully on this bottom side and look for potential rotate for the Void Grubs. You can see the push is starting to come through from GALA. Hasn't got the arrow available that was already used on a previous attempt at a pick, but it means that now in this position, I think they can try to move members up to look for that next Void Grub contest just off this wave bounce here.
Can I just ask you, though, while I'm watching mid bully out, and as you said, it's all about the setup for the Grubs coming up in 50 seconds. Bin is up in CS in the Rumble matchup. Now, it's not often you see, you know, Rumble kind of fall down in most of these lanes. I know there has been a nerf, but Bin is up 10, and that kind of attests to the laner that Bin is as well, right?
Yeah, he's been doing a great job of just getting push and control on this top side, and Zika hasn't been able to as easily contest. Obviously, we haven't been looking at top as much, so I can't tell you exactly why, but with the first strike, even from Zika, like, usually you get a lot of Arcane Commerce in this lane just to try and get more of that poke down, but opting in to try and accelerate with his gold. And I don't dislike the idea here from Zika. It's just like, hey, if Bin has to approach the wave to try and hit it, I can just get a ton of gold, try and accelerate myself into strong team fights, especially, as we say, at this Void Grubs that are about to come up now.
As I think good itemization helps with that as well, by the way. Bin has got double magic resist with null magic mantle as well as the Negatron cloak, as we are moving up for these Grubs. It was a good call back to 3 before for BLGs. We saw that trade, but this time LNG do not want to give away another Grub.
Yeah, Bin starting to move down. I think he just needs to try and zone Zika off from joining this, though, as AD carries contest mid push, but Elk moving over.
Oh, flash on. He goes in and with a Magnet Storm draws them in. A flash gets interrupted as he arrows the counterpunch, but for LNG, Hung is too low to re-engage. Zika's trying to burn down Bin and he's just getting zoned off as well, but gets a flip back and now tries to out teamfight with the Paranoia in. BLG group on up and they see enough. They dive onto this jungler as it's trade for trade, but BLG in the middle of the pit getting hit by scouters. Wei gets over on the backside, but LNG have numbers advantage again. Bin's trying to carry the rest, and he does eventually with Elk getting the fourth shot, but now BLG bring in Knight. He wasn't in the fight, and that was a different. Shockwave brings on in, holds scout, saves Wei, and he picks up the kill. Knight chases down with the rest of LNG already falling so close. GALA tries to be that teamfight AD carry, and when LPL goes head to head, you ask for more of that, please.
That was such a sick fight. LNG thought they had that moment to take the fight because it was just off screen, but Hung gets a great ultimate onto the TP from Knight right as he comes in. So in theory, it's a 4 versus 5, but they'd already used some of those key ultimates in that initial play. And then that rumble from Zika doesn't really work out because everyone dives into the pit to try and kill off Weiwei. And here, Bin gets a ton of damage done. Elk is managing to finish off some folks. And watch this ult from Knight. Keeps Scout pinned against the wall, so he just barely can't get some of that follow-up damage onto Elk. And then it's at least fishing for Zika. They don't quite get him, but they take GALA as the conciliatory prize.
Apologise to people back home. Was looking at what Bin was doing in the back line. Didn't see Knight bopped away. So again, some nice mechanics here after Hung got caught out and was the position of targeting from BLG, but in the end, BLG still winning out. Some surefire mechanics. Knight rejoining in. 2 kills on GALA, 1 on Knight now, and there's a small gold lead as LNG. The retribution is going to be the fact that they're 2 dragons up.
But I think the fallback plan for LNG yesterday was a lot of these team fights. They didn't really look as successful as they would traditionally, playing through these side lanes, trying to play through Scout. When you are already in a deficit and you're trying to outfight BLG, that's not exactly where you want to be. So this game very much under control of BLG, and as long as they don't give opportunities for LNG to play off of like picks from GALA with Weiwei.
Oh, that's a pick. They give opportunity. Hung's trying to save the play, but instead Zika's already dead. Under turret, it will end up being a trade, but it's only support for supporters. Elk now sits down, waiting for that shot to come through, and onto Hung. It's being tanked up by Knight, who walked on in. Weiwei wants to slow here with the stride breaker, but it's not enough. Elk just walks out in smooth fashion, and BLG open up the turret and open up the advantage to this first game of the day.
If BLG had that push in mid, so happy to roam Knight up and just look for the dive or the tower. There was just no hope for Zika on that one. Completely falls, and now Wei, you're going to start up this Rift Herald as well, knowing that you have to try and get control of both top, and the reset came through for GALA in mid lane, so numbers advantage in the map for BLG.
I've just been told that was the latest first blood of World so far, by the way, which I'm very surprised that it wasn't even that late. Second grub spawn, and yeah, we're fighting as BLG. We come back to the reality that they're also going to be taking the Herald. So this gold lead is about to skyrocket, and it's just moments of individual players as a MasterCard lane economy snapshot will show us exactly what I mean. GALA being one of that, Elk on the other side. 1,200 gold lead here at the 14-minute mark.
Yeah, I think this is where BLG need to try and set up their lanes so that then they're not getting caught out. So Bin should be fine. I like the fact that they're setting them up against Scout with the early or with the side lane under Bin's control. There shouldn't be much windows for Scout to push in, and as long as Wei, I want to keep track of him, keeps an eye on Knight, make sure that there's no way that like GALA and Zika can try and jump on him. I think BLG should be fine and just start playing for some of these key objectives. 2 dragons for LNG though is pretty nice, because it means that they can actually just look to continuously pressure these side lanes as these dragons come up.
Well, Hung is trying to add some pressure of his own onto the red buff. Weiwei is sure behind him. He takes the Paranoia. The Ashe arrow doesn't connect though, so he's bought time. Wei has to ulti in the end, but Weiwei takes him down. The Shockwave looking for a trade, finds it easily, and Weiwei's now in trouble. The Curtain Call tries to slip the gap, but with a Hung ulti lying down, or rather on, GALA's in so much trouble. He gets ulted by Bin on the back end, and LNG have to run for their lives. BLG turn a fight again.
This was looking like LNG versus TL. TL saw the pick against LNG, they turned it around, and now, next day, BLG did the exact same thing. LNG overextend, and it's the Shockwave from Knight, which sets up that big turnaround.
At least Scout's going to be able to get this turret, you think, right? But they've got no grubs. It's a little bit slower than you'd expect. However, Bin pays respect. Grubs go down, or rather, turret, excuse me, as mid-turret's still under fire, and even though it's a Jhin, they do have 6 grubs.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be able to get it off of this wave, though. You can see Weiwei coming across to just try and cover some of this pressure, and GALA should be there, I think, on the next rotation. So BLG should just back away, but we see it here. The invade coming through from Hong. Weiwei just isn't quite here, and you're still waiting. Like, GALA, yes, gets the ultimate, but it ends up missing, and there's just no real damage apart from Weiwei, so it takes a while for this Vi to go down, and then the shockwave was just clean from Knight. Sets up perfectly for the curtain call. On is able to set down a bunch of control in this area, and the TP from Bin is just the final nail in the coffin for the LNG play.
Bin cleaning that kill up in the end as well, buffers the blast cone. Ward's getting thrown down as GALA looks a little bit triggered by that ending kill as well. He's been the target of selection here by BLG, two deaths now taken, and on the other end, he is getting outmatched by his enemy AD carry. 1,800 now is the lead between them on Elk's side.
But this is what I was talking about for BLG, right? On and Wei up here, making sure the Knight can successfully collect these waves, because Orianna is so vulnerable on the side lane, and that's where you see many teams kind of forego that protection, and suddenly you pounce on the mid laner, you get a tower, the game swings in LNG's favor, but BLG hyper aware that these are the kind of plays that LNG want to go for and are covering well.
As you said, I mean, Knight also being safe when they move away for a second, as Bin is just having it out with Scout. Wei now moves towards bot to see if there's anything he can do. Control ward, no vision there, but Scout is not overstepping. He clears the wave and walks back to safety.
Yeah, 30 seconds into the Dragon, so he just wants to make sure that he doesn't get picked beforehand. Going to try and just get as much gold into his back pocket as possible. Has the TP to come in, but I think he's still a ways off of finishing his second item. But BLG now, group up on mid. They have Rift Herald, but I don't think they need it with this grub burn.
GALA stepping forward, you wouldn't expect it, but he's got his team behind him. Weiwei can always turn out the lights, but Dagda, that turret that we were talking about before, is finally down. 3k back to the margin, and the Dragon you were just mentioning, up in 5 seconds. I think items are important here. As we look across the board, and we just see that Elk sitting on 2 items now with a rapid fire cannon picked up moments ago. Knight also with needlessly large. There's a lot of damage here for BLG thanks to that gold lead.
But if I'm LNG, I don't try and fight this.
Okay.
I think you're in a position where you just try and pick off the waves, give first Dragon across, and then just look for, I was going to say a cross map, but they're not really in the best of positions. Rift Herald used on bot by Wei is a nice call, because it just creates another point of pressure and draws LNG away from a potential pushed mid into top side, and now they have to defend the bot lane tower.
Scout by himself to do that for now, right? He looks for the eye. The turret won't go down, but the charge successful. BLG in front of Dragon. You said LNG don't have to, Dagda, but they're like, maybe we do. We have to fight over everything. What region is this?
I mean, LNG are not the team that usually goes for this, but...
Arrow, blocked by On. Here we go, the engage, but it's taken by Elk in the end. The re-engage comes through from On as he jumps into the back line, but isolated is Hung. He has to flash away, but Scout brings them together to clap. LNG are taking the fight, and BLG don't know what just hit them. Scout is this team. Scout is LNG, and without Scout, they were worried, but he made it to Worlds, and he is sick of the accusations.
Have you not seen Scout's Yone? This is what this man does. You'll see the importance that he brings to this team, and the immediate teleport to the bottom side. Tried to get the tower, wasn't in a position to do so, but LNG, they're going to get this second tower for themselves as well. That play was sick.
That was a 4k gold swing just about, or maybe even more with the turret going down. LNG with a 2k gold lead out of nowhere, and I don't know what just hit them. I don't think BLG know what just happened. I wasn't expecting that, and again, we've seen Scout's Yone before, Dagda. We've seen Scout plays like this before as well.
Yeah. But watch, you get Zika who's trying to come in on the side, so you've got multiple members of BLG trying to protect the back line, and as Zika comes in, it's that setup that forces everyone up into this corridor, which then just sets up Scout beautifully again. Like, the ultimate from Zika, core to setting that up, and then LNG just run away with that. But this has always been a team that strives when they're on these comfort picks, and you're seeing it on the screen.
The way head nod, like, yo, respect.
Yeah, that was sick.
That was sick, respect. And even in the end, damage. I mean, it's crazy to me because, yeah, BLG weren't in the fight. They didn't get to play the fight. LNG's top laner actually adding a lot as well. There's a reason that they're prioritizing this pick, and that Zika is also looking so good on it. Obviously, again, despite other people transitioning away from the Rumble, there's still an ode of faith that you're going to get from this top laner who's developed over the year.
Yeah, and I think that really suits Zika, because even when he came into the league and he was on IG, he was like the Camille, the ribbon guy that would just play for these side lanes, and that was the IG win condition. But as teams started to ban him out, it was kind of like, well, you don't really have any more flair, do you? But he has developed so much as a player. Now picking up the Rumble, I don't think LNG can really work with him on a split push manner. but certainly when it comes to team fights like this guy is a carry master and is showing it on the main stage.
After the sealing of fate from Scout, Zika cleans it up. Paranoia used again. BLG getting engaged on, and it's on to Elk. He's a backline condition, but Weiwei has gone too deep before Zika can get there. But Elk, he's still going to get traded. Again, he's burning them down. We just highlighted the man, and he's taken BLG all out. They're trying to deal with him, but he's still so healthy. There's no damage left, and Scout will deal with another fate sealed. And LNG's team fights are looking blissful. On gets out. Bin only by the hair of his chinny chin, but Hung has got a date with another support. It looks cute. It looks great. He takes a turret shot and they dissipate. But On and Hung as they leave each other's side. LNG, it's still a big win for this huge red side.
And sometimes you just have that team BLG can't get over. Last time JDG, this year maybe LNG, because this was sick. You end up missing the ult from GALA, but with Weiwei going in, the TP flank from Zika was perfect. Again, a great ultimate from the Rumble. Just decimates the back line. And sure, Knight tries his best on the opposite side of the fight, but you're jumping into Scout, you're jumping into GALA. It's never going to be a fun time.
It's just looking so clean. It's these comfort picks that for LNG are now starting to tear BLG apart. BLG, you know, Dagger, I know I had them as the undefeated. A lot of people had them undefeated in their pick'ems coming from their LoL Esports pick'ems, but like LNG surprising us yesterday against TL as well. They kind of picked apart the pieces from the mid game, and they are doing it again against a much heavier opponent in BLG when BLG had such a big early lead.
So though BLG first out on the map in a decent spot now, trying to see if they can fish for picks on this top lane. They do need to start getting some control over like mid push and that, which should be handy, but I don't think LNG are just like out of the woodwork and free winning this now, because you're still looking at IE about to be finished for Rell, because that's going to be a big boon for him. As you start to trip over towards third item for Knight, he's going to be in a great spot, and finally you're getting the completion of a lot of the armor.
It hits on. As he's leaving enemy jungle, it hits on, and he doesn't have Merc treads. It's Paranoia. GALA, that arrow was out of this world.
And why did you set up Baron for LNG as well? The push on bot lane for Scout, he has TP to join, but he's been matched by Bin, who doesn't have his. He interrupts though. Bin just barely gets it, and I think that stops LNG from going for the play.
Bin won't get stopped either. I mean, Scout is doing good damage, but Bin can just walk out of this. You're right, it stops the Baron. Dagda, beautiful hit there, and even better from Bin as well to stop LNG tenfold.
Also, just getting that cooldown out from Scout alleviates so much map pressure. You can't really play with him fully on this bottom side to now start threatening tier 2s the whole time, but Dragon still here for LNG. That's still going to be a third one, a potential soul now for the LNG squad.
Now we watch and wait. We look for the potential Dragon setup coming through as LNG play between Baron and Soul Point, or another pick like that using GALA's tool. A well, concise, accurate arrow, Dagda. That's what I just saw, and as you said, I love your point. Scout can't play for sides anymore without the TP, and you were talking before about Zika, how vulnerable he is playing on his side lane. He can't play for split push really as well because of the tools there for BLG and the lack of escape the Rumble has.
Yeah, and I think that's where, again, they can try and feed into that, but at this stage, Scout needs to start playing with the team. Zika has his teleport available, but you've got double available for BLG, so always an option to try and do something spicy, but with K'Sante and Orianna, I think it's more, again, like, group as 5, try and put a lot of pressure on mid and see if you can base that TP out from Zika with the Baron start.
That 5k is still there. I'm looking at gold because I'm looking at third items soon to be completed. It feels like top lane is the first stop there. On the other side, of course, Elk was always ahead. Remember, 1,800, 1,900 gold throughout this early game as Hung is moving into danger. He gets engaged on it. It's a nice Magnet Stormer setup as well with the cease and desist. He tries to turn it. Everything used on the support now means danger for BLG. Into the back line, Weiwei has just run on in. The shockwave to get him in the back, but Scout already disengages. Bin had to ulti to get out of there. LNG have 4 alive and health bars to start the Baron.
Great setup from Scout, and the fact that Hung stayed alive for so long meant that BLG overcommitted into the area, and now they're on towards the Baron, way half health. Scout spots him.
He's got no flash, he's got no ulti. As you said, Scout just says, cease and deliver. Takes a free kill, and LNG in a matchup that I did not see coming have just outclassed BLG in this mid-game as Red Bull Baron power play is theirs.
But this has always been a team, this split, that when they get their picks, look astounding. Look like a team that can take on the world, and Zika's Rumble, Scout, Yone, It's a perfect blend. And when you look at this, yes, it's a nice pick on the Hong, but with that stun coming through and then the stun again from Hong, it makes it so difficult to follow up. They then overextend. And the engage here from Scout and from Weiwei was perfect. Just absolutely rips through Knight, who didn't have his flash available. And it's a 2-for-1 special.
LNG, cheer it out of their mind. You know, Dagda, for me, this hits home, this hits history. You know, I look at the stage, I'm reminded of Shanghai, I'm reminded of 2019, 2020 years where a lot of these players went up against each other. There's a lot of new faces, of course. People like Zika that went around back then. You know, Wei who rose up to fame after the eras of Casa, MLXG. Like, there are so many legacies built on either side, and when we got Knight versus Scout, we knew it'd be a doozy. I just didn't know how much on Scout's side after Knight was bullying him in the early game. So again, it's a pleasure to open up with this on Worlds, as LNG still being the favorites here. Now with the gold leader, found themselves a free support, and Weiwei flew in with the paranoia. It's a 2-quick kill. Bin though separates, which is great, but Weiwei flashes up, builds a bit of space while the rest of LNG try to find the back pieces, but Elk zones himself out from Scout, almost dies in the end, and Bin, even though he looked for the chase, dies as well. Zika flashes on top of Knight, and the underdogs of the LPL are taking it to the tournament favourites.
The Kingmaker in Knight has just fallen to the bidding king in Zika, and that might be the end of this game. LNG, they're in front of the base. Shots fired from GALA, from Elk, but I don't think it's enough.
Death timers, I mean, there are huge. Wei's up in 10 seconds, but Knight's not there. Bin's not there for another 25 at least. Elk needs to pull off a miracle, and with a thin wave, I think he doesn't have to. I think he forgets it. On just threatens him out of the base, but LNG have broken down mid inhibitor, and they've got all the gold to play with in the world.
And you're just never getting a chance to set up this strong 5v5 that BLG have drafted for. LNG are doing a great job of finding these picks in the jungle, finding opportunities where everyone on BLG isn't together, and BLG are kind of throwing everything at one person and then have nothing left for the follow-up afterwards.
Dagda, it's those pick tools. It's the draft we talked about. And I think for LNG, you know, I'm used to this team falling behind in the early game and not knowing what to do. What a false narrative. I mean, that's the old days.
But we're also getting to see, you know, the moments where you can punish on. This is a guy who, when he oversteps, you can definitely find moments to pick him off, and LNG are kind of calling his bluff here on multiple chances, especially GALA. Now the engage.
At least for Scout, this is last hope's part for BLG to find a pick, but they've done no damage on Scout. Instead, he turns it as Weiwei flies in again. Free farming, Scout does it again! Sealing the fate of the first seed of the LPL. That's my Faker protege.
Scout is a man on a mission, and BLG are in his sights. Bin with TP to the tower. Can he get the wave? Can he do something here? But it feels like there's nothing left.
How do you defend? He's got nothing in the tank, and BLG might have good early game or good early lanes, but LNG read their game, read their minds. The third seed of the LPL take them down, move to 2-0. And when we say Scout is LNG, we bloody mean it.
And what a pleasure it is to have him here in Berlin. Scout showing up absolutely incredible, but I know there's going to be a very happy Goldberg over on the AD, and I want to hear from him.
Oh yeah, tell us.
Oh, Dagda, you couldn't have him all right. I got my boy ready already. Normally, I would say don't be a game one Andy, but you know what, baby? It's a best of one. It's a best of one. LNG's better. No, I mean, I thought that was a phenomenal performance. I really love the draft that came out from LNG in this one. The way they piloted at first was a bit scuffed. They had a rough time with some of the pressure that came out from BLG, but at the end of the day, those team fights from LNG were just stellar.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. This game was a story in 2 parts, honestly.
We don't need the first part, I only need the second part. Most movies are defined by their ending, and my God, was this cinema.
Wow. Oh my God, it's just another episode of regional familiarity that gets you. And like, just imagine if Scout wasn't here, right? Imagine if he wasn't able to come over. That would be crazy.
All I'm saying is...
Okay.
Scout whiffed the first Grubs fight, even when Hung knocked Knight out.
We don't talk about it.
And then came back as level 13 Yone, and suddenly he's the GOAT. No, I think that was Rumble and Poppy diff. And I was skeptical about Hung at first, but he had so many good ults. There were so many moments where he survived. That 3-man pick in the brush next to Baron where he survived was so good. The last second Poppy ult to make sure they could win. I was very much a hater when they were winning the fights, and I was like, Poppy is the only form of proactive engage outside of an Ashe arrow. Didn't love it. But the second that comp got a lead, the second they crawled out of that deficit that admittedly I do think they made themselves, there was no coming back.
And there's some small points too. Like there was that one Ashe arrow that got the Rell. Like basically BLG had the vision, but they had seen Rell walk out of the jungle and kind of like, okay, they got the pick, they got the kill, and they were slowly getting control once again and leading them to some of those key teamfight wins. But man, that's fun. That shakes up a lot.
Yeah, that was really fun. So how do we feel about becoming LNG fans?
No.
Well, your team isn't here. You need a new team.
I need a new allegiance, that's for sure. And honestly, again,
great.
I'm really happy that Scout is here because honestly, this is when you see what this player is capable of. On champions that he can actually pilot completely. Raz, you want to say something?
And Laura, you were asking about upsets. Well, we got one finally.
That
That's an upset.
That is an upset.
That's an upset.
That is an upset.
There's going to be a lot just talking about how LNG, you know, they won last time they faced. BLG never had to face them.
We're setting some anticipation.
Here's the fun thing, right? Because going up against each other in a best of series, BLG is very prone to dropping the first game they play in a best of 3. LNG is very prone to winning the first one, but then losing the series. Or at least they were in spring, right? So I think that stylistically going into this, we may never know what's going to happen.
Look, you can't knock it. We've always talked about the world's meta favoring people. If the world's format happens to favor one team's ability to only win a single game, you're going to get that. You know what I mean? You're going to get that.
People are throwing so many asterisks for this team. It's like, oh, they only beat Weiwei Gaming because they were playing them the day after.
I
like,
will say,
yes.
One thing I have learned is Rumble is very much still a threat, and Rumble Yone is incredibly disgusting.
We'll talk about this a bit later. We have Shox already on stage right now for the Verizon post-game interview. Let's hear it.
I'm standing by here with Zika, so maybe we get to talk about Rumble just a little bit, and Christina will help me in the interview as well. Zika, congratulations. What an unbelievable victory. What a close game. But I want to know about how you were able to pull this game back in your favor after what was a very difficult early game.
好的，恭喜你们拿下了这一场比赛的胜利。首先想要问到一下，在这一场难分伯仲的较量当中，特别是你们在前期有所劣势的情况下，你们是如何扭转局面的呢？
我们的阵容就是打团比较好嘛，然后就是当时有一波机会我们落后了嘛，然后就打团了。
So I think it comes down to we have a better team fighting draft, and when we had one opportunity to be able to get on the flank and on the back just to engage, that's why.
Yes, and that worked perfectly. And of course, you have had not as much time, I think, with Scout as you would have wanted, and he had a monster game again. How has it been adjusting to the fact that you had not that much time to really practice with him and having to perform here at Worlds?
那此前可能因为 Scout 选手一些出境方面的问题，不知道队伍会不会因此有一些对于你们的训练的时间啊会有影响？特别是在今天的这种情况下，你觉得他能够参加世界赛，以及在这场比赛中有这么好的表现来说，感觉怎么样呢？
首先是因为出了一些事情嘛，然后就导致我们没办法确定就是他能不能参加，但是在后续的努力，然后我们就很珍惜这次机会。
So actually, we faced off a little bit issues about we have no idea whether Scout can be able to participate in the Worlds 2024. But we solved these problems, and since then, we're really cherish and value this opportunity.
Absolutely, and you look phenomenal, 2-0 already. And now, Zika, I think this tournament could really be one where you are one of our breakout stars after what you have already showed even last year. So what do you want to show at Worlds 2024?
那现在 LNG 在瑞士轮已经拿到了2-0的开局。那想问一下子卡选手，你觉得今年对你个人来说，相比于去年，在今年的世界赛上，你会展现出怎样精彩的表现和发挥呢？
对于我自己来说的话，就想打出自己的风格吧，然后表现更好。
For me personally, I would like to showcase my own play style and have a better performance here.
Okay, thank you very much. Congratulations once again. And LNG moves on to 2-0 here at Worlds.
Thank you so much, Shox. Great interview here. And we were just talking about Scout and how LNG came back, and that it actually showed during one specific fight. It's our HyperX Reflex replay that we're going to see right now. I know that Didi was really mad because of what Yone can do and the fact that you just come back with one item and you can just smash the entire fight. But Scout played so well.
Yeah, and it's like 1.5 item, level 13, so you're maxed out on the soul and bound. You do so much damage, and when it's paired with the Rumble here against an immobile backline, if it ever hits at all, obviously the knockback to start, but if you ever get that combo of those two champions together, the game is just completely and totally unplayable. And the other issue you can see here is that despite the fact that they in theory isolate the Poppy, they can immediately burst him down. And now they put themselves all in this grouped up position, which makes them incredibly vulnerable to this super powerful combo.
Yeah, and you know, to give Hong some love to the point that you had made, the ejection on Vi, the Ashe arrow that made it easier for them to walk past the Rell, all these things made it so it was a clear pathway to that backline, and Scout finished the job.
What happened on the side of BLG though? Because when you look at the composition that LNG had, you have a lot of pickup potential, you want to skirmish maybe or isolate the targets, but when it comes to team fights per se, this is when I expected BLG to come together.
I don't think there was a really great target to isolate. I think this is one of the problems with this draft is that, like, to me, K'Sante is a safe blind but doesn't fit in super well because we saw, even though he's in a pretty good spot, Ben individually wasn't too bad off. He ulti isolates Nocturne in some of those final fights. He can't kill Nocturne. He ulti isolates someone. The vast majority of people on this team, he can't burst through or one-shot. And more often than not, if he's pulling someone away, someone else on his team is much, much more vulnerable. Jhin obviously fell behind, but this is a build where when the team is ahead and their team fighting a favorable position, you saw in that second Grubs fight, right? It's going to look really good, but the Orianna Vi combo never felt like it came to fruition because it's like, all right, you found one person, everyone else on our team can immediately just dive whoever you have left as your backline.
Exactly. Two things for me. There was that one time they were trying to find a pick on Poppy. It took way too long, and then immediately afterwards, there's no escape from Vi. Vi getting popped out because of Steadfast presence. You're like, okay, so there's no exit strategy from these. And the second one for me was just like, if Jhin has no flash, that TP play that Zika made with Nocturne straight on top of you, you're dying in a long lane.
Oh, absolutely.
It was rough.
Yeah.
Final thoughts on this. LNG underestimated dark horse of this Swiss stage, maybe underdogs of this
I mean, I'm over the moon. Just hearing Shock say LNG starts 2-0, can we just get that in a replay again and again and again? It feels amazing. I could not have dreamt of this, so very happy with their performance.
The beauty of Swiss stage. Beauty of best of one as well, and we have 7 more on our hands for this second day. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back for Genji TES.
Brings on in, hold Scout, saves way, and he picks up the kill. Knight chases down with the rest of LNG, already falling so close. GALA tries to be that team fight AD carry. The re-engage comes through from On as he jumps into the back line, but isolated is hung. He has to push him, and Scout brings them together to collab. LNG are taking the fight, and BLG don't know what just hit them. Scout instead, he turns as Weiwei flies in again. Free farm, and Scout does it again. Sealing the fate of the first seed of the LPL. That's my Faker protege.
This is what you asked for. Heavy is the crowd. Fire in the sunrise. Ashes raining down. Heavy is the crowd. Sparks ready. Amped up.
Red Bull gives you wings.
You wish.